Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time being here, my name is Danny. Uh, I'm the Gen X Diesel. Um, my video before, I think it's maybe 2 videos back now, I mentioned about Jimmy Kimmel uh, on that video about how what he shouldn't have said about Melania Trump being uh, a widow, and I got a few comments on that video. One guy in particular, I believe it was Dan Hempstead. I think I'm pronouncing it right. If not, I'm sorry, Dan. I don't mean to um, uh, misinterpret your name or anything. We had a pretty good conversation. Actually, we're still having conversation back and forth. Uh, he brought up a lot of comments about what Trump has said about Rob Reiner and his wife being murdered. Um, I'm sorry, unalived. Um, I don't think YouTube likes using that word, but anyway, um, yeah, Trump said some things he probably shouldn't have said. There again, we all say things we shouldn't say, and Jimmy Kimmel said something he shouldn't have said, uh, particularly more than once. But you know, and it's not so much about trying to take free speech from anyone, whether it be Trump or the Republican side or Democrat side, whatever. Not so much trying to take the freedom of speech. It's the consequences of your freedom of speech. We got freedom of speech all day long. We all know that. We also know that after Charlie Kirk, what happened to him, that a lot of people lost their jobs because they were making little hand gestures about what went on there, and I don't really want to get flagged on YouTube, so I don't want to say what I really want to say because this video won't come out if I do. But uh, we have to understand that what we say does affect our life, whether it's free speech or not. It still can and will affect your life going forward. Um, you know, there was a lot of nurses that lost their jobs saying that they wasn't going to help a military person or a Republican. If they found out they were Republican, they weren't gonna help them. They weren't gonna give them the aid they needed. They lost their jobs. I believe it was even a doctor that lost their job. Maybe it's been two that lost their job, saying the same thing. You know, freedom of speech don't protect the consequences of your speech, and that's what I'm trying to get across to Mr. Dan right now. Is you know, just because you can say what you want to say and do what you want to do, you having the free will does not mean that you're not going to pay consequences. That's just like, if you don't pay a bill at a restaurant, you walk out, you get caught, you got to pay the consequences, right? So we all do, you unless you're one of the lucky ones that gets away. And you may get by with stealing, food from her, because that's stealing. If you eat food that you ordered and you don't pay the bill, that's stealing. You know, you're not only stealing out of one pocket, you're stealing out of two pockets. The waiter or waitress, you're stealing from them, and you're stealing from the restaurant franchise themselves. So you may not get caught that first time, you may not get caught that second time, but that third or fourth or fifth time, you eventually gonna get caught, and that's your consequences. You got to pay for that. You know, and I'm still, like I said, I'm all about free speech. You know, I say what I want to say when I say it, whenever I want to say it. I'm a grown man. I have no filter. I know how to pull back, just like I'm doing on this video right here. I know how to pull back, but I also have the free will to say what I want to say, and I do. And everybody that knows me knows that, But it's the consequences that really hurts you in the end for whatever you say or for whatever you do. You know, I worked a job for years, and you know, when I was growing up, nobody had hurt feelings. They didn't live off their feelings. They just come back at you with something either bigger or better or whatever, or they just walked off. You know, and the last few years before I got disabled, you know, I was still the same way. You know, I would tell someone to do something. If they come up and they say, "Oh, it's because I'm black," I said, "No, it's not because you're black. It's because that's your job to do." You know, it's not, skin color ain't got a dang thing to do with it. It's your job. That's your job to do. You know, I set out jobs for everybody to do, no matter what color you are, and that's the job you're required to do. So do your job you're required to do. You know, and you know that's the thing about it. It's everything's all the ways about race on this in this world right now. I said, and that's stupid. You know, in some areas, in some situations, I'm going to say race has something to do with it. Yeah, because you do have bigots out there. I will admit that. I'm not one of them, but you do have bigots out there. And race shouldn't be a factor in anything. It should be, can you do the job? Do you know how to do the job? Do you have qualifications for the job? That's what should be put down. That's why I've been saying for the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years now, that race shouldn't even be on an application. You shouldn't be down there be able to put down whether you're a black person, a white person, a Mexican, an Indian, whatever other nationality there is out there on them now, because I haven't filled out one in years. But that shouldn't be a thing. Sex, that's it, you know. And when the person comes up to do the interview, then that's when you do the interview. You're like, okay, so what kind of experience do you have for this job that you applied for? Let me know. You know, that's how you get a job. You shouldn't have to get a job just because you're black, or just because you're white, or just because you're Mexican, or whatever it may be. The skin tone of your color of your skin should not matter what job you get. If you can't do the job, you can't do the job. That's what matters. Not being able to get by on skin color alone. Because that skin color alone is only going to get you so far, and they're going to know that you can't do that job. And then the company's scared to fire you, because if they fire you, you're going to say, well, the only reason they fired me is because I'm of color. You know, that don't make any sense. So you ought to be qualified for the job. But I'm getting on a rant. Getting back to freedom of speech. Yes, we all have freedom of speech. No matter how disgusting it is, no matter what you say, we all have freedom of speech. But there is some kind of I can't think of the word I want to say, but you should have some type of ethics in you when you say certain things. You know, and it's like I've said before, what Kimmel said, he come back on, I think the next night or that next Monday, I believe it is, and he said that it was a joke. He was just kidding. Well, here's the thing, and about every comedian that I've ever heard say or talk or about jokes and stuff, if you have to explain the joke, that means the joke wasn't funny. And I stick to my guns when I say, when he said that, supposed to have been a joke, you heard the laughter and the clapping going on. I think that was dubbed in. Don't think it was real. Matter of fact, I think a lot of his clapping and stuff that he says isn't real. But Jimmy Kimmel hasn't been funny in years. I mean, I'm sorry. I've never liked him, but he's never been funny to me. And his style is just not my style. It's like he didn't have the right way to get that punch in on his joke or something. I don't know what. But it's got even worse when he's took that show that used to be so popular for many, many years and turned it into a political show instead of a comical comedian type show. You know, it used to be, you know, they had, you know, certain actors on there and talking about their new movie coming out, or you know, another comedian, you know, he'll sit there and say a few jokes and then sit down and talk about, you know, where he's going next and how he come up with these jokes and this type of thing. Now it's just, well, who do you vote for? Do you think this person should have been president? I mean, we get enough, us people out here in the world, we get enough of politics and politicians through the week, during the day, on the nightly news, on the evening news, on the afternoon news, on the morning news, that you know what? When it comes down to the evening, that nighttime, it's good to have a little bit of laughter. I mean, that's why Gutfeld is so much popular than what he is. Most of them are, because he tells jokes about political, both sides. He's even talking about Trump, both sides. But he tells it in a funny way. He makes it comical, not serious and not derogatory. That's a word. I think that's what I'm looking for. But that's how he does it. And the left, it's already been proven that the left has more hatred and more ill will, or whatever, if you want to say it, towards the right. And they talk about going out there and punching somebody in the face just because they're a Republican, or they need to be fired, or whatever the situation may be, just because they're a Republican. You know, if you wear a MAGA hat, they want to go out there and punch you in the face because you wear a MAGA hat. I'm gonna tell you, somebody better not come try to punch me on because I got a MAGA hat. Things ain't gonna go too well, plain and simple. But the thing is yes, freedom of speech, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. We have it. Thank God we have it. Because if we didn't have freedom of speech, you wouldn't be able to. Somalians wouldn't be out there and talking about their country stuff, and we should do what they do in their country here in our country. You wouldn't have people trying to tag in Israel's churches and stuff, synagogues and everything. You wouldn't have them doing like they did in New York, trying to bum rush and going into the Israel's synagogues and everything else. You wouldn't have all that protesting out there if we didn't have freedom of speech. If we had a king, everybody keeps saying Trump's a king. If he was a king, you wouldn't be able to say what you wanted to say online right now. I wouldn't be able to say what I'm wanting to say online right now. If we had a king, we'd all have to be bowing down to him and kissing his ring and feet or whatever they do. If we had a king. We don't have kings. Trump is not a king. Does Trump do everything right? Hell no. Do I agree with everything Trump does? Hell no. But I'm human. I have my own feelings. I have my own thoughts on things. But Trump, he is a loudmouth. I agree. And at some aspects, he comes off as a bully. I don't like bullies. But he gets his point across. He says what's on his mind, and he means what he says. That's what I like about him. Now, whether it's right or wrong, he says it. He's not scared to say what's on his mind. And he's been in business for 60 years, 50 years, whatever it is. You know, so he knows what to do. He knows how to say things. And he has a mentality to overrun everybody else. But you can't get mad at what Trump says if you can't get mad at what Jimmy Kimmel says. Because even as a president, he still has freedom of speech. You know, so you can't get mad at both of them. And like I said, I don't like everything Trump says or does. But it's his freedom of speech. I don't like what Kimmel said. That's why I come on here and talked about it. I think it was disgusting what he said. That's my opinion. We all have opinions. We all have the opportunity to say what we want to say. And that's all I was saying on my thing. On my last video was that I think what they done was wrong. What he said was wrong, and I still think he was wrong. I'm gonna back it up till the day I die. It was wrong. What he said wasn't right. Did I say he needed to lose his job? I may have. I can't remember. But that's up to was ABC or CB, I don't know, whoever owns it, Disney. I think Disney owns. That's up to Disney Corporation. That's up to them to decide whether he should lose his job or not mine. It's my opinion. But normally people don't like your opinion because your opinion don't match their opinion. That's when they get mad, and that's when they get upset. Now that conversation now I've been having back and forth with Dan. I'm hoping he watches this later when it's aired or put on YouTube. I enjoy that conversation, back and forth, back and forth. He feels one way, I feel another way. That's communication. I'm not mad at him for what he said. I hope he's not mad at what I said. I hope I don't frustrate him at what he said. He's not frustrating me. I enjoy it. That's why I said make comments. That comments helps my channel, helps it get that pushed back out there to more people, but it also gets dialect going. We all need to have that dialect going, because if we don't talk to each other, we just sit to this side on the left and this side on the right and say, I don't like him, and then the left says, well, I don't like the right, and I don't like this. That's not how you communicate. The way you communicate is you sit down and you say, hey, look, this is the problem I have with your side. And that side shuts up, doesn't say a word till the right gets done talking. Then when the right gets done talking, the left says, okay, well, here's what I don't like about your side. Then when the left and the right both are done talking, then you sit down and say, how can we change this? What can we do to go forward to where we can kind of meet sort of in the middle, because we're never going to like each other side of what they do. Now, you can like each other as a person. I have family members that are Democrat. I have friends that are Democrats. I'm a Republican. I don't hate them because they're Democrats. My mom, me and her, we really get into it when it comes to politics sometimes. But I love my mom to death. I'll do anything in the world for her. Even if she is wrong. Just kidding. But you know what I'm saying. We're never going to be right with each other. We're never going to be on the same side. That's why they split us down the middle, right and left. They split us on purpose. But we have got to learn how to get along, with each other. And until we do that, we're never going to learn. We're never going to get along. But that's pretty much all I had to say today. Sorry, mail lady just pulled in the mail. No. So I'm going to be done with it today. Thank you very much. And Dan, we'll keep talking. Thank you. Oh, and in closing, I gotta add this. I got interrupted and had to go quick. The song that plays in the first part of my videos, first few videos I've done, it's not talking about doing away with free speech. It's talking about, as America, we need to stand up together and fight this division they're trying to put between us. Whites, blacks, Asians, Mexicans, whatever it may be. That's what we need to stop. We need to stop that division we're having right now. We got to fight for our rights, and we've got to make sure that the company or the country stops trying to divide us. Because when they divide us, that's when they win. And that's what they're trying to do. Both sides are doing it. I'm not saying it's Republican or Democrat. Both sides are doing it. We need to try to stop that division. As a kid, there was no division. You don't know about division. And it also, it talks about trying to change our kids' way of thinking, so to speak, from being a boy to a girl to being a boy. That's wrong too. There's no 9-year-old, there's no 10-year-old, and I would probably dare to say there's no 15-year-old out there that thinks they should have been a female or they should have been a male when they were born. That's stuff that's indoctrinated. You put it in their kid's head, and they start believing it. That's not right. We don't do that. that's pretty much what that song is. I know Dan had an issue with that song, when I was talking about Kimmel shouldn't have his job anymore or whatever. But, like I said, that's my opinion. But that's why that song plays. I'm not in a cult. I'm not a cult member, or anything like that. That was another, I don't think it was Dan, I think it was someone else that said that. But, hey, let's have some good conversation. Just leave your comments down at the bottom. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I appreciate you. And I will see you on the next one.